Hi, I'm Michael Vallandingham, and this is a recap of Sunday's message. Good and evil has been blurred in our society, and you can see that very much in the superhero movies. When I was growing up, Superman was my favorite, and in the Superman movies, there was very clear good and evil. Everything was black and white. You had Superman, Lex Luthor, and in the more modern superhero movies, as like the Avengers, you get a blurring of that which is good and evil. Just look at Iron Man and all the struggles that he goes through, and look at a movie like Civil War, where half the Avengers end up on one side of an issue and the other half end up on the other side of an issue, and it's just not clear who is right and who is wrong. And in our society, we're struggling with having this black and white, that which is right and that which is bad. And so as we look here at James, James is pushing for us as believers to ask for godly wisdom, that there is a black and a white and not just a gray in this world. And so if we're going to live as people who have godly wisdom, there are three proofs that we will find in our life. The first one is control. In James 3:13, it says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom." Wisdom is to know how to apply truth skillfully. Just think about someone who has a medical degree, and just because they were able to pass the test in order to know everything about a heart doesn't mean that they need to go and give open heart surgery. Well, we have lots of knowledge, and just having knowledge and understanding is not enough. We need to know how to skillfully use the things that God has taught us. And we do it, he says, with the meekness of wisdom. Meekness is power under control. When we first got our 30-foot travel trailer, we were pulling it behind the Expedition, and we found that the Expedition was giving all that it had, and the wind was pushing us all over the road. So we went out and bought an F-250 with a diesel engine, and this thing has all the power in the world. And matter of fact, I can set the cruise going down the highway and never even know that it is there. And my son, who's 5 years old, has learned how to start our vehicles. Can you imagine my 5-year-old son jumping up in the F-250 and starting this thing and putting it in gear and taking off? It's kind of been my fear over the last few months as he started that car, that he's going to figure out how to put that thing in gear, because in his hands, that power is going to kill somebody. It's going to take out a wall or a house. I mean, it is scary to think about what could happen when that power is in the wrong hands. Well, we need to make sure that just because we have the power to destroy somebody's life, it's not what we do, that we take our knowledge and understanding and we use it in a skillful way, that we have control. Not only do we need to have control, we need to be selfless. He says that in verse 14, "If you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth." To be jealous of others, to be envious of others, to want to be better than them, you want to have what they have. And it says with selfish ambition, exploiting everything in order to make your life better. And he says here in verse 16, "For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder." And disorder is the result of us thinking about ourselves all the time. A church of jealous self-seekers are going to produce disorder. Just think about what would happen if you let your children do whatever they wanted to do in their room. I know it would be like in our house. I mean, there'd be stuff everywhere. All the toys would be thrown out every direction. Clothes would be piled up. You wouldn't know what was clean or what is dirty, because a child only thinks about themselves. They only think about what's happening right then at the moment, and the gratification that they get right then. And because of that, they don't want to pick up. They don't want to clean up. They don't care if their clothes are dirty. And that's what happens when we are all about ourselves and what we want. We're going to have disorder. You cannot live for self and God at the same time. We need to be people who are surrendering our life to God. And that brings us to the third characteristic, which means that we are rare. And in verses 17 and 18, James gives us this list of the qualifications or the characteristics that we need to be and have as believers. And we need to be pure and peaceable, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, good fruit, impartial, sincere. And the results of living in righteousness, the proof that we have these things in our life is that we have a harvest of righteousness. In Galatians 6:7, Paul says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap." So what we are sowing, we will reap. If we are sowing selfishness, we're going to reap disorder. But if we're sowing a life that is surrendered to God and is not about us, it's about other people, we're going to reap a harvest of righteousness. And the last thing that he tells us about this harvest is that there is peace. It's a spiritual peace. Peace is what we're after. This world that we're going through right now, a difficult time when it comes to social distancing and wearing masks and not being able to travel and all the difficulties that we're finding in today's world going through this pandemic, we're losing peace. People are still looking for peace. We want a life that matters. And you know, peace comes with order. Peace comes with a life of righteousness. You know, it's not peaceful to walk into a house that's in chaos and disarray. I mean, it's peace to walk into a house that's been cleaned and everything's in its place and you can just walk in and sit down. And that is what we're looking for. And so is your life the result of a life that's been surrendered to God? A life that you are giving to Him, that you're living in the wisdom that comes from God. Because when we're living in that wisdom, we're going to have fruit that produces a harvest of righteousness, that produces in us and gives us a peace, an inner peace on the inside. And I pray for that for each one of you, that through this difficult times that we're going through today, that you can find peace. God bless you.